Bum, 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 bada-bum. Bum, bum, bada-bum. Good afternoon, and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this afternoon. Let's just do some checks first of all, and then we'll get right into the fact that Celtic, yes, Celtic have missed out on a striker. We have missed out on a striker. It looks like the Aberdeen striker is on the move. And when you just finish when you want there, I thought we'd get him. It says Danny Boy. Um, Afternoon to you, Danny Boy. Yeah, the news is broken this afternoon that Girona are in advanced talks with Aberdeen for the striker Bojan Miovski. I thought a lot of people were saying that Celtic should have left the Adam Ida situation as it is. Celtic have made a couple of bids for Adam Ida. One at 4 million and one at 6 million. And it is thought that Celtic are going to go back in with an £8 million offer, which could be enough to close the deal. According to sources down south, Carley's in. Where's he went? He's on his way to Italy, Carley. He is on his way to Italy. He's Anthony Joseph this afternoon, just about an hour ago, said that Girona are in advanced talks with Aberdeen to sign Aberdeen striker. Negotiations are ongoing they're ongoing but progressing well. And also Genoa are also monitoring the situation, but they're considering other targets. So it looks like that Aberdeen are going to get the 6.5 million that they were wanting for the striker. A lot of people thought maybe he's going to be back. If Celtic wanted him as a striker, let's be perfectly honest, if Celtic even thought for 1 minute that they wanted him, I'm sure that they would have made a move earlier on in the transfer window, which they didn't. They didn't make a move earlier on in the transfer window, so um, it's narrowing down the players that Celtic are going to get. Anyway, Danny Boy's in the house. Afternoon to you. Carly's in the house. Bombo's in the house. Afternoon. Baz. Alan's in the house. Sleeping at the wheel as per usual. Celtic. Alan, don't even get me started. I want to try and be positive today because people are saying, "Oh, he's just a grumpy moan," and it's not. It's the reality of the Celtic transfer window. It's the reality of the statement that Celtic put out the other evening in regards to the stock exchange. And it is just the reality. And if people want to try and paint a rosy picture for the current situation that we're in, well, let them try. We are in a fantastic place. Let's not doubt that, right? Financially, we're in a cracking place. Squad wise, we're in a not too bad place. We need to strengthen. We know that. We have been linked. Now, this is a strange one. We'll go into transfers. We have been linked with Ben Doak again. See, this one just doesn't want to go away. Ben Doak is reportedly of interest over a shock move to the Celtic, as Brendan Rodgers wants to try and get him back at Celtic, as well as another Liverpool player. He did have an injury-laden season, 23-24. He missed out on Euro 2024 due to his fitness. Now back in the fold, the Reds, with their pre-season, could be ready for a loan exit out of Liverpool. I don't think that I'm not wanting Ben Doak on Celtic. You know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen is we're going to get to the the later end of the window, and we're going to bring in Adam Ida for 8 million, and then we're going to bring in some loan signings. And my fear for that is when it got to the end of the window last year, and we were scrambling about for loan signings, we brought in Nat Phillips. Anyway, let's get back. As long as the Rangers is away to, yeah, no, it's no Rangers is away to. Same old Celtic board says Jim F. Might as well say Celtic missed the boat with Mbappe, just like Miovski. Was never going to sign either. But we also missed the boat with your banter. Larson says, who did go to Baz? He's on his way to a team in Italy. And 8 million for Ida who's bang average at best, says Big Bruce. Yes. Is Adam Ida really worth £8 million to Celtic? Is he worth £8 million to sit on the bench as a part-time player, or is Brendan Rodgers about to do something fantastic at Celtic and change to a 3-5-2 formation, or play two strikers, or just change the formation slightly to play the two strikers? Because £8 million is a lot of money to play 15 minutes a week. We spent 7 million on two defenders who can't even get a game. Spending 8 million on a striker, that's more than we spent on Chris Sutton. That's more than we spent on John Hartson. That's more than we spent on the King of Kings. Is Adam Ida really? I know that the transfer market has moved on significantly since the early 2000s, where you could get bargain basement Suttons, John Hartsons, and Henrik Larssons. But are Norwich taking the piss? Are they holding Celtic over a barrel? And is it the fact that everyone knows that Celtic are sitting on a big pot of cash? They're saying, "Oh, well, they've got plenty of money. They think they're a big club. They can pay big club transfer fees for the player." Anyway, let's jump back into the comments. Paul Baird, do not mention who. Carly, I missed out the comments. Can you see being another bit of a disaster signing process? And can see it being another bit of a disaster signing. I think we're past the disaster part of the transfer window. And let's be honest, nobody can say that this has been a successful transfer window. We're into 3 weeks to go to the end of the window. You cannot say that this is going to be another successful transfer window. The vultures are circling above to swoop down and pick up Matt O'Reilly anytime soon. It is a case of now daily that Celtic fans are just sitting waiting on confirmation of a 25 million bid hitting Celtic's door, and they've opened up talks. I mean, that's what every Celtic fan, they click onto Twitter, they click onto the news feeds on YouTube, they click onto the news feeds on Google, and every Celtic fan is just sitting waiting on that one tweet coming out, that one leaked bit of information. Done deal. Matt O'Reilly's gone, and I think realistically it'll devastate a lot of fans. And no one's bigger than the club. No one is bigger than the club. No one player is bigger than the club. And it's something that we've gotten used to over the long and illustrious career um, and the history of Celtic, unbroken history of Glasgow Celtic Football Club, going way back to 1888, 87 if you include the first few months. But we're used to the way that the modern game works for Celtic, and the business model that we've had. We've had this business model term thrown down our throats now for a long time. And I think that either get it done and dusted either way. The end of this transfer window cannot come quick enough for me. And I just hope to God that Brendan Rodgers can stand. Because remember, Brendan Rodgers says, "For those who don't believe in me, I'll see you back here in May." Brendan Rodgers has been pretty much stood by his words since he's been back at Celtic. And Paul's going to jump on and say he's just a fucking yes man. He's a yes man to Nicholson. I still think, personally, I still think that there's a power struggle going on between what Brendan wants and how quick the board are willing to act. I say board, but it's Nicholson and Chris Mackay, who's the finance guy. It's how quick they want, and they are dragging things out, which could ultimately have an adverse effect on our entire season. Now, do we have enough to win the league in Scotland with the current squad? More than likely. But are we gambling with Kyogo Furiashi? Yes, we're gambling with Kyogo Furiashi, who is the only recognised striker. If we go away to Hibs at the weekend and Kyogo gets a really bad injury, I mean, when it was the penalty incident at the weekend, everyone just looked and went, "Let's hope he's not injured." because if Kyogo gets injured, we're bringing on Mikey Johnston. You're bringing on Mikey Johnston as a backup striker just now, and whether we like it or not, that is not acceptable. The fact that we're playing this stupid game of cat and mouse with trying to get in people this late in the window it's beyond belief now. Anyway, Stuart Ramsey says the board are on the roof of paradise, just taking the piss on all below. Yes, they are that. They are that. You can actually see the Celtic board must have in their family history tree generals of the British Army, and they just think that we're cannon fodder. And looking back, and the generals just sent out the cannon fodder to get spent their lives, to get blown up in action. And that's what they're doing with our heartstrings and our money and our mental stability. Because let's face it, some of us keep on losing the plot with what's going on. Anyway, it's a clown show on the board, says Magnus. Kevin says Matt will only go if it's to a Champions League team. I'm beginning to think not, Kevin. I'm beginning to think that Matt will not have an option. I think he'll have one option, and it was either you go or you stay for the same money. And Celtic and the agent now. There was a report going around this morning that Ange, through an intermediary, now if Ange Postecoglou was offered Matt O'Reilly, Ange Postecoglou would pick up the phone to Brendan and say, "Much do you want for Matt?" And I think that was maybe a nonsense story just to try and create some media headlines this afternoon. But I did see that one headline where it says that Celtic had been offered Matt O'Reilly through an intermediary, which I think is bullshit. Because if Matt O'Reilly was wanted by Ange Postecoglou, Ange would have picked up the phone way before now and said, "Much do you want for him?" I don't think he's worth that. We maybe give you a player plus cash. I don't know. Maybe he would go, yeah. Anyway. Barry says that he's gutted that we didn't sign the Aberdeen player. I don't think that we're ever going to sign him. Celtic are taking a gamble on concerning Adam Ida. Having one striker at the club our size is an absolute shambles. It is that, Magnus. Says hail, hail. Mark says, well, the business model at Celtic clearly works for profits. The board very seldom take the manager's recommendations into consideration. Only recently is Ange. I don't think that even this. Do we really think? Look how good Ange was at picking out players in his first season and going into the start of his second season. Do you think that the players that came in when Brendan Rodgers came in, who were all supposed to have been signed off by Ange, do you really think that those were all Ange players? Do you think that Odom Owen was an Ange player, an Ange pick? Do you think that Gustav Lagerbielke was an Ange pick? I don't know. I don't think so. Well said, Baz. Started my options. You've stated your options about Brendan off. Yes, you have, Paul. And you know, it's a case of I don't think it matters what Brendan says just now. I think that the board are playing games. I'm not going to down the board. Don't buy Champions League tickets. It'll be brutal to have to watch, no doubt. Green Smoke 67. For those who do not buy Celtic tickets, there's 10,000 on a waiting list that will buy Celtic tickets for the Champions League. So unfortunately, a boycott of anything would not happen at Celtic. And the way that the Celtic fan base is together, I mean, I've been at meetings for the affiliation, and even when all the different clubs are at a meeting through the affiliation, nobody can agree on everything 100%. Do you know, it's all the different factions of their support. It's not like our support all come, you know, from Glasgow, from that area. They're not all from 5 miles around the park. You know, the majority of the fans travel vast distances to follow Celtic, and a lot of people that aren't even in supporters clubs that drive to games drive vast distances to watch Celtic. So I think that's where the problem comes with the fan base and any type of boycott like that, because it is such a big fan base that any boycott can easily be picked up in tickets wise. I mean, I can remember when the Green Brigade were boycotting, and Celtic thought, well, fuck you, we'll actually sell the tickets for the Green Brigade area, which they did. And then towards the end of the boycott, the Green Brigade actually got tickets right next to where the current away end is. And we went back in there, and we never told anyone we were going in. It was hilarious. But it was weird sitting over the other side and looking at the section 111 and thinking, we should be in there, but we just bought other tickets to be in here. Anyway, that was a long time ago. Paul says maybe Brendan Rodgers will go back for Nathan Phillips on loan again. I don't think so. Hijack the AGM. You don't get into the AGM unless you can actually have proof that you have shares in Celtic. They do not make it an open house, which is unfortunate. There is the Celtic Trust, who are fighting to try and get some fan recognition on the board. The Celtic Trust have been buying up shares over the years to try and place one of their members onto the board, and I think that they will get vocal again. The Celtic Trust will get very vocal again come the time that the AGM comes round in September. The board loves the fact that the fans are split. Paul, you've got it in one. What sort of player do you think could get for 8 million? There's hardly a queue around the block, is there? What sort of player do you think you could get for 8 million? Says S. Anderson. See if you go on to Fabrizio Romano's Twitter feed, you'll see quite a lot of players that have sold between the 6 and 8 million mark over the summer. And there's been quite a lot of movement in that side of the market across Europe. So to suggest that you're not going to get, we need to stop looking at the English market. We need to stop comparing ourselves to prices of the overinflated Sky-backed English Premier League, because the day that Sky stops pumping its money into the English Premier League, the day that they grow a set of balls and actually fine Man City more than 2 million for 22 charges of misconduct for financial doping. When that finally happens and the implosion in the English Premier League begins, the top clubs in Europe, the top leagues in Europe will once again come to fruition and show that's the reason that most players go to Europe in the first place. So, yeah, that's it. One striker at the start of the season, we allow that, says Greensmoke67. Yes, we do. The board even got Sevco laughing at our signing policies. I don't really care anything what Sevco says, because let's face it, they're a complete shambles of a club top to bottom. And they need to get their own house in order before they start even talking about us. Right. I still can't get over this Ben Doak nonsense that we're going to go back in for Ben Doak. Anyway, Adam Ida is back in Norwich fold. He is back in the Norwich fold. I think he's changed to number 11, I think it was. But they are expecting another bid from Celtic. They're expecting it. If I'm not even going to talk about Adam Ida. I don't want to. I just don't want to. Anyway, that's been done and dusted for this afternoon. I will be back this evening, 9 o'clock Celtic Park time, for another live, a little update. James McCarthy has left the building. Hats off to you, James. I hope you have a fantastic career in whatever you're going to do. Scott McKenna, he's not going to be joining Celtic either. That's another player that we thought would maybe come to Celtic, because Brendan Rodgers was after him when he was at Aberdeen. The 27-year-old Scotland defender was a free agent after leaving Nottingham Forest, and it looks like he's on his way to Spain, to Las Palmas. All the good players go to Spain. Anyway, there wasn't one bit of interesting bit of news that was kicking around about an ex-Celtic player, and it was Kieran Tierney. And there was it was a fake nonsense story that Kieran Tierney wasn't on the team sheet, even though he's injured. Why would he be on the team sheet that he's injured? And don't worry, Kieran Tierney hasn't been airbrushed from the Arsenal team sheet on the Arsenal website. He is still an Arsenal player. No idea what will happen to Kieran Tierney. It's of no regard to us what happens with Kieran Tierney, because he's never coming back to Celtic, and I think if he does, he'll struggle to stay fit. Anyway, final comments. Lowell has got to say how penny pinch. My pal says he doesn't. Has Lowell still got a say on how we penny pinch? No, he doesn't. He doesn't have a say on how we do not spend money, but he's still in the building on a weekly basis. Football's Life says you never see the board talk to the fans. No, you don't. You don't. And Flag Day was one of those ones where they went hiding. Flag Day, it's usually the chairman. It's usually the chairman of Celtic. For as long as I can remember, as the chairman of Celtic, even when Fergus McCann got booed. It was him that raised the flag. I think they didn't want any bad press at all, so they decided to wheel in Jim Craig and his missus. And fair play to him, the history and all that. But anyway, Gordon Crouch loved the Frankie Boyle comment yesterday. Yep, I think we all need to just take a little moment and think about other things in life, really. Anyway, that note, I shall see you at 9 p.m. tonight where we'll get any update. Is there any update just now? Nope, there's absolutely nothing coming out of Celtic. One time Celtic target signs a 3-year deal at La Liga. He has signed a 3-year deal. Yep, Scott McKenna has signed a 3-year deal at the La Liga side. So there is another one that is coming out, or another one that we're not going to get. So who are we going to get as a defender if it's not Scott McKenna? That's that one, done and dusted then. Aberdeen player, Bojan, he's off to Spain. Anyway, catch you this evening. Have a fantastic evening. We are on 17,914 subscribers. We are going to hit 18 before the transfer window. What's going to come first? Adam Ida or 18,000 subscribers?